Okay, I'm just okay. Hi, assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Anat. Many people call me Farmer Anat because I am a practicing farmer, and then I also own an agricultural company that also supports farmers. I I've been in the agricultural sector for the past 7 years now, and it's been an amazing journey. Yes, agri sector might be a bit it might be a bit challenging, but one thing about agri sector is that there must be a system, and many people always omit that. Oh, I want to be in the agriculture sector, but they think it's just an easy busy sector that they don't even need to have system, and that's why we just don't say food and agriculture like before. We say, oh, the food system. We talk about food system every time. So I'm so honored to be here with the Muslim tribe to talk about agriculture, especially in my own way. And today's topic, like I've been given, is adapting to climate change in local food system. And this has like different, that's like different focus. So I'll try to like break it down for whoever is going to watch this and is watching this, so that they can understand the opportunities, the challenges, and how to adapt to the climate change. So let's first talk about climate change. What is climate change? Many times people think climate change is just how there is inconsistency with the climate, how 1 minute is supposed to rain, next minute is not raining. However, climate change in agriculture deals with more than that. It is dealing with how are you as is dealing with not just the weather condition, but it's also dealing with how produce on the farm are thriving, right? So 1 minute a pest that is not coming to the farm. Let me use a good example. Um, okay, because I don't want to use a lot of big terms here, but a pest that is coming to the farm, which is not coming to the farm normally, and then suddenly you started realizing that all your maize died. What happened? Then they realized that, oh, there's a new pest. It's a new pest on the farm that is actually killing, like stem borers. That's actually killing all the plants. So what happened in that kind of situation? It is actually that the climate has changed, and then it has allowed another type of pest to be an habitat of the surrounding. So climate change in agriculture does not just deal with, oh, weather condition, because I used to say, like, everyone say, oh, rain is not falling, the climate is affecting us again. No, it is way more than that. Sometimes this is how quick a fruit ripens and when it's not supposed to ripe. So imagine a farmer that is supposed to harvest by July, already like scheduled that time, then got to the farm by June, middle of June, and then realized that all the plant is already ripe. Definitely there is a gap, and that's why the climate change conversation continues to keep going on. But how do we now realize, how do we now take charge of the opportunity it brings? Because for any issues or any condition, there's an opportunity and there's also um, challenge. So I'll first talk about the opportunities that comes with climate change, opportunities that come with the food system, and opportunities that comes with adapting to climate change in the local food system. But before I go that, I also want to talk about what local food system is. Now, there are modernized food system, there are local food system. I used to say a modernized food system is just an improved an improved version of the local practices. Now, local food system is how generations before us have been practicing agriculture. And when it comes to how they have been practicing agriculture, it talks about how they do their mulching, how they do their weeding. We all know that in the past, weeding, there are nothing really like mechanized machines. Now we have some bush cutter. So how they do their weeding, how they do their planting. At that time, there was nothing like seedling spray. And seedling tray is something that you use to plant your seedlings. After that time, there was something like seedling tray. So people that plant seedlings, if they are not planted directly on the seed, so I want to try to like, I want to try to like bring this down to everybody's level. So the farmers in the past generation, whenever they want to plant, they take the seed directly and then plant it into the soil. But what happens? Because of climate change or pests or something, that's why out of 100 you might only see 10 germinating. And then to now look like, why are they not making money? Why are they always being in loss? Why are they always looking tattered? because at the end of the day, their practices are not improved. Not like they're not doing the right thing. Now, when the food system improved, it has gradually been improving. They started doing something they call the Atibaba. They used to call it Atibaba in Yoruba. They will use palm trees, small trees, and then they will put it on one small land. Then put the plants there. They will not start place for like 30 days. After it germinates for like few days, they will now take it one by one. They will now go and replant it. You will now replant it on the food system. But they started doing that because they realized that when they put the seed on the ground directly, it would actually not germinate. Something would have eaten it. In fact, it got to a point that that's why if any of you are conversant with maize, you realize that the maize before, some people used to like plant maize in 2024, and then the ones that remain, they will convert it to seed. However, if they convert it to seed and they want to plant, it will not germinate well. So things has changed. The food system just keeps improving. Yes, practices of the local farmers is there, but the food system keeps improving. Now, you want to plant maize, it's advisable you plant a treated maize, because that treated maize, even first or normal hand, you will not be able to press it, and then it will allow the maize to actually germinate, right? So there are a lot of adaptation that has keeps being ongoing in climate change. But like I'm talking about the food system, it is what is already like currently is always being improved every time, every time, every time. Now we've gotten to that point in the agri sector that even if you want to plant some particular fruits, there are different hybrid varieties. There are the dwarf one, there are the middle one, there are the ones that are tall, very tall. They will even tell you, do you want the one that is very short that you can actually pluck while you are sitting down, right? So it's the first way to adapt to the climate change is to know about your food system. You cannot adapt to climate change without knowing the food system, especially the kind of crop you want to be involved in. So the best thing is that what part of the food system do I want to be a part of? What part of the food system am I interested in? Am I interested in just perishable tomatoes, cucumbers? Because they are kind of in the same family, so they might use the same kind of mechanism of production, right? Do I want to use do I want to go into grains? You need to understand what is that food system I am in. Because if you start talking about the climate adaptation practices for each of them, it's something that will take literally almost a whole week, right? So it has different ways to actually mitigate it. And the reality is that climate change cannot be solved. Like you can't come and say, because it's a natural cause. So you can't come and tell yourself that, oh, I'm not going to have issues, I'm going to have a solution, I'm going to go and get irrigation materials and nothing will happen. One ask those that did irrigation on their farm and see what they are going through. So it is good. Yes, irrigation is just a control. So you can't have solution. You can only have what you call control. They are only control measures. I used to say it over and over again. They are only control measures in agriculture. There are no what's the thing called solution. There are no solutions to challenges, but control measures, yes. There's something they do in greenhouses now. As useful as a greenhouses, you should know that climate change actually eats greenhouse. When the weather is too hot, almost all the plants in greenhouse dies. Even though greenhouse is actually a solution to climate change. So imagine that. Imagine that. And that is why now, even for a greenhouse, some people use a net, some people use UV cover. Even in Nigeria, it is not even advisable to use UV cover. However, when rain starts falling too much, the UV cover is actually like, oh, we really need it. So it is always how do we actually mitigate, how do we actually control. Do I have option A, option B, option C, option D, option this is and that? So now I've talked a bit about food system. Now I'm going to talk about opportunities that arises within climate change in local food system, which is quite a lot. But I'm not going to talk about it. And why did I say it is quite a lot? It's because at the end of the day, we realize that there is no challenge that doesn't bring opportunity. Especially if you find yourself in that space, right? And then you realize that how am I going to be able to solve this challenge? And believe me, it just becomes an opportunity for you, right? So what are one of the opportunities? First of all, is that sometimes they allow the farmers to make more money. I mean, it allows the farmers to make more money, right? It gives a revenue stream of another type of product. For instance, the opportunities is that if, for instance, you want to plant a normal type of orange, and then because of climate change, you realize that if I plant an orange, it might actually die. So it has given opportunity to create another type of variety. Through this climate change, so people have been able to get how they're going to get grants to actually fund their research, because they're able to present an opportunity that's okay, yes, that's why we need to do research, that's why we need to create a better hybrid. If you don't have these challenges, we can't have a better hybrid. Some people might not know, but the orange we take right now in Nigeria is called King Orange. It's called King Orange. Before that orange, there are other types of orange. We have almost more than 15 types, varieties of orange. Now, how were they able to achieve that King Orange? That King Sweet Orange, to be precise. It's because they're able to crossbreed between about 3 or 4 varieties. Something about citrus is that if you want to, if you want um, to plant citrus, the way it happens is that they take the bud and the stalk. The stalk is the one that has roots. They take the stalk from another variety of orange. They now take another part, the upper part of the tree. I mean, when they are still young, before you plant it, they take it from another variety entirely, and then they bud them together. Then it becomes come and buy 1 seedlings of orange, right? Why is that happening? Because they need to mitigate around climate change, and those that did it, it was an opportunity for them, right? So one of the opportunities, like I'm trying to mention, is an opportunity to create new varieties, improved varieties of what we consume, which is essential. Secondly, is that how are we able to another opportunity I want to be very precise about is that it creates more revenue income. Yes, it might be like, how does it create more revenue income? But yeah, it creates more revenue income because along the line you realize that a lot of time when challenges like this arises, there's a surge in the market. Like there is a very high surge. Then price hikes. It hikes like double, which pays farmers. I tell people, you are trying to say, oh, food must be cheap, food must be cheap. But when we consider the kind of stress farmers go through, you realize that the revenue has to be high to actually substitute for the energy and effort they put in. So it creates more income. Then you realize that the people that benefit or have control measures against the climate change at this period of time, they win against, they actually win against the market, and they are making so like double more. I mean, it still happened this year. People that were supposed to get ordinary bell peppers for like 4, 5, 5,000, they're supposed to sell it for that. They sold it for 13,000 packaging, right? 13,000 packaging. It's not because it was scientific, but because the climate change kind of affected some farmers. As bad as that it is for some farmers, but the farmers that are able to put control measures in what they are doing, they're able to take advantage of it. And that's why I say for every challenge there is always an opportunity. For every as I list every challenge, you realize that there is actually a growth opportunity in it. There is always a growth opportunity in it. And then let me just move quickly to what the challenges are about. Um, is the fact that, of course, I think I've kind of mentioned some of it, but I'm just going to like reiterate because I started by talking about what climate change is about, what is our food system, for everybody to understand that, oh, we have actually been improving our food system right from time. It's always changing. Even 2025 is changing, 2030 is changing. It's going to keep changing. The food system will keep changing. And then I'll talk a bit on the opportunities that climate change in the food system brings. And then now I want to talk about the challenges that climate change in food system brings. So one of it is, of course, loss, post-harvest loss. Post-harvest loss is even different because post-harvest loss is after you have harvested what you want, what you planted for like 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Then you realize that because the weather is a bit gloomy and a bit too dry, everything just spoils at one spot. And because you're unable to dry it, or you're able to store it in a cold place, everything just spoils at one spot, right? But that's just post harvest loss. But even before you start harvesting, that is where the real deal happen, because sometimes it causes abortion. What is abortion on the farm? Abortion is that when a plant begins to flower, it's supposed to like start giving fruit, right? Then all the flowers died. They are unable to pollinate. Maybe pollination did not happen on the farm. So imagine, I've had a lot of experiences whereby people around me lost acres of land, acres, and I mean acres, 15 acres, 10 acres. Even me, I've experienced myself, right? And at the end of the day, we just stand up back, not because it is not challenging, but because we realize from that experience how to control it. And that's why when you see a farmer that is doing so well now, it's been experience over the time that has allowed the person to put down mitigations, right? A lot of mitigations on how to actually control and improve what they are doing. So it is quite challenging, but it is what can actually be improved on. The third one I would also like to mention is that it reduces losses, obviously. Once you can harvest, reduce loss, and the loss will not even come back in any way. I've seen people that have invested 7 million and lost literally and lost everything. Sometimes some people even say, "Oh, I got like 10% of it," but it's like zero income, zero everything. But some people, because of it, they've never entered the agricultural sector again. They are always like, "No, I don't want to go through this twice." But I've seen people that survived. Even myself, I had that experience. I remember I lost 7,000 plants just one night. I literally saw the plant this week. Then the second week, I got there and it was wiped out. I was like, "What is going on?" Just because it dried by the stem, you know. So at the end of the day, I'm able to create another control measure for it, and I'm able to say, okay, let me stabilize. Let me stabilize. I've never seen that. I've done 25,000 of that same plant, and they are still very good. I've done 30,000, I've done 50,000 of that same plant, and they are still very good. So the challenges does not stop for climate change. All we can just do is keep putting down control measures on it. So I'm just going to go to my last um few lines, which is talking about how to actually adapt, right? How to actually adapt to climate change. And we can say it's not far-fetched. As a woman in agriculture, someone who wants to thrive in agriculture, like I mentioned earlier, you need to learn about your food system. You need to first ask yourself, where in the sector do I want to stay? Is it just potatoes? I have a farmer who only focuses on potatoes. And anytime I need potatoes, potato vines, I supply it directly from him. That's what he's been doing. He's perfect at it for more than 15 years now. Just potatoes. And you'll be surprised how much of revenue that brings. Some people it's just vegetable, just normal vegetable, ewedu, and they focus on dry season. They won't even do during rainy season with you. And during dry season, they'll make triple of their money, because many of our Greek ventures, they don't just give 100% profit. They give like 300% profit. I am serious. 300% profit. I want to be sure if you can hear me. Can anyone hear me? I hope I've not been talking for free. Okay. I hope. Can anyone hear me? I would like to see comments if anyone can hear me. Okay, good. Thank you. So it is not far-fetched. It's just like, oh, how would you be able to say I am good at this thing if you are not experience. So you can start by interning or learning or trying it. You might not even have to intern anywhere, because as a Muslim, going to different places might not be that easy for us. I mean, I've had like a lot of great experience in the sector, trying to say, oh, I'm stressed, I want to pray, I want to do it. But one thing I started doing was that I had to learn through my own way. I had to say, okay, in my backyard, in the small land, I remember I had one land at 19 then. It's about 2 acres land. I planted plantain, pineapples, and it was a lot. The experiences I got there is enough to like, is enough to last me a lifetime. It was a lot. It got to a point I was actually realizing that I I the worker that was on the farm for me, they actually fought. I mean, real fought that got to bleeding. So it's just a lot of experience. So try to stretch yourself as a Muslim by your own self. You learn by doing. You don't learn by reading or listening. You learn by doing. So that's one of the first steps. Know what you want. Try it. Practicalize it on your own. If you want to learn, fine. But believe me, when I say you can do it on your own, and while you're asking the right questions from the right people, you can do it on your own, right? So it is. I want to be sure I. Okay, thank you. So you can do it on your own. The first thing comes with practice. The second one comes with finding out about the market opportunities, the sales opportunities, because you cannot combat climate change if you don't even know the opportunities what you are planting gives you. I mean, how would you know that, oh, I should not harvest it when it is fully ripe? Sometimes the best way to combat climate change is by knowing those little things. Sometimes some farmers will harvest their tomato when it is still color green. They know why they are doing that. They know why they are doing that. They're able to have, they've studied the sign, they studied their market, they've been able to say, oh, since I'm taking it to Lagos, the best way for me to actually say, yes, let me actually harvest it now. So it's important, know the opportunities, know the sales before you even venture into it. So when you know that, oh, sometimes you know what we do, what I also do for my clients, I also tell them, okay, let's know that we might have about 30 or 40% loss. Even before we start the project. Even before and then the most important part is that when you're working with somebody, don't tell them, oh, don't worry, I'm very sure, I'm experienced, I'm going to give you 100% profit. Make sure you tell them 20% loss might happen. 20% loss might happen. And if you don't want to tell them that, okay, we are planting 1,500 stand, let's plant 2,500 stand, so that in case 1,000 dies, we do not feel it. So you must have put a damage control in your documents, in your plans. It is important. Damage control, this is the excess. Always add excess to whatever plan you have in the agricultural sector. And that is how you can adapt. So adaptation to climate change in the food system actually starts with you. It's not on the farm. It's not on the place. It starts with you. It starts with you having clarity and understanding that, okay, I am ready to go through this mission, to go through this part. I know about it, and I'm going to be consistent to become a practical person, because with climate change you have to be practical to be able to mitigate the challenges. You have to be practical, and these are some of my key points I really want to share with everyone. I hope you enjoyed the section as much as I did, and to just summarize everything I've mentioned on the last note is that climate change is not, it brings its own challenges and opportunity. And as much as it brings its challenges and opportunity, the only way we can adapt to climate change ecosystem is by understanding what should we want to venture in, what agricultural sector do you want to venture in, and most importantly, there are no solutions. There are only control measures, and the control measures can make you succeed in the most ways that you can think of. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you so much for watching this. Whenever you're watching it, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, everyone. Can you hear me?
Assalamualaikum. Yes, we can hear you. Jazakumullah khairan for the session. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Now, there are no questions from the YouTube audience, so but it's been an insightful one.
Thank you
Jazakumullah
very much.
khairan. Nah,
Uh,
thank you for joining me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Walaikum salam. Thank you so much for having me.